Hold on, I'll draw arrows, make it a little bit less confusing. And we'll go with blue for the Mothership Core. Mothership Core goes here and here, here, and then back home. This is like every single game, I do it 100%, because this shit will save you from losing to things like Proxy Void Ray. And even after you scout it, it's a strong all-in. Like, unless you pull workers, or have like a quick second stalker and you commit to killing his pylon, it's still going to be hard to hold, unless you can hold on to you get Photon Overcharge. But it's rough, because sometimes they even like send zealots or a stalker or zealot too. Like, then you have to pull workers probably, because every single piece of damage your stalker takes, he's going to be that much more useless against Void Ray. Because already one Void Ray, when it's charged, like rapes stalkers, like beats them like 1v4 or something. And they can even shoot while moving, so you have to micro them back. Like, say you do have 4 versus 1 Void Ray, and you micro back to hurt one, you have to micro it back earlier than you would most units, because it will follow you and shoot you while following you for the first second. Because they do shoot while moving, kind of like Phoenixes, but they need to be at the right angle. Do you know what I'm saying? Did you know that?
I did not know that, but I understand what you're saying.
Phoenixes are different. It doesn't matter what, like, they'll face the direction, they'll move backwards if they have to. They'll face whatever direction they need to shoot and still be moving in another direction. Void Rays, if they're moving in the perfect angle where their beam is facing, they will shoot while advancing. Yeah. So yeah, I assume you're already caught up. You see the red is where the Stalker Scouts and the blue is where the the Mothership Core Scouts?
I see that part.
Yes. So when I do Proxy Oracle, I do a little bit further out of the way, which we'll do lime green. I do it over here or even over here. Because if you, and I'm talking about Proxy Oracle, I don't do Proxy Void Ray. It's way too all in for me. Like, it's like, it would make me super nervous. You know, because if they scout that, like, say if they scout it when the Stargate's finishing, I'll like cancel it, whatever, you know, see if I can macro out of it, just play well. But a Proxy Void Ray, like, all in, you get like a 10 gate, like, you get that Void Ray out as fast as freaking possible, and like, you know, it's like, you can't just macro out of it. But yeah. But an Oracle, if it's a little bit further away, not only is it less likely to be scouted, but by the time it reaches your opponent's base, it will have more energy to shoot stuff. With that being said, you know, a strategy game, a real-time strategy game is all about timings, and giving the opponent 20 more seconds to have more stalkers out can be a big deal. But for the most part, it isn't. I mean, you're proxying, you know, for Christ's sake. So have you caught up? Have you seen the lime green, yellow?
I see the yellow. I don't know what you're talking about, the lime green.
No, that's the same color, whatever.
Oh. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's like more yellow than it is lime green. But like there is like a yellow option that I can select. Anyway, yeah, that's where I'd put my proxy. But anyway, yeah, so that's a scout pattern of the Mothership Core and the Void Ray. Now, in all-in situations, you have to identify them as all-in. And sometimes you have to make really hard decisions. And we're still talking about the Proxy Void Ray all-in. I literally have a list of like 10 things, and I'll tell you when we change subject. But this is where I'm talking about Proxy Void Ray. Okay. You, like, if he's putting the proxy to you and putting all Chrono Boosts and basically all resources into Void Rays, he is totally all in. And every single Stalker you lose, like, drops you how much you can, like, your chance of winning significantly, like maybe even 10 or 20%. And you already were at like 50 or 60%. Sometimes, I'm not 100% sure what the best response is. A lot of the times I can hold if I just like poke him and force his prismatic beam, right? His charge. And then run everything away, and then he's going to get either free worker kills or free pylon and gateway kills, but he can't kill a Nexus. Unless he's up to like 3 Void Rays, he really can't kill a Nexus. So you just keep poking him, force the whatchamacallit, and then run away. And just keep chronoing out stalkers and just try and buy time until you have Photon Overcharge. And then once you do have Photon Overcharge, then you really need to like get stalkers out, do something, get something done. Another option, and this is what I'm talking about when it comes to hard decisions, is to just go across the map with your Mothership Core and your first stalker. He'll have free reign. He'll it all depends on the positioning of your buildings, because like if his proxy comes from the left and your gateway and pylons are all on the left side of your nexus, you are pretty fucked because he's going to stop your production immediately. Like, that's his high priority target, is to stop you from building stalkers because you can't come without stalkers. But if you go across the map, you completely stop his mining and, like, maybe even kill all his workers because, let's see, if he 10 gates, he probably only has, like, 18 workers or something, like, something fairly low because it's, like, a really early all-in, like, earlier than 4 gate. So he might have 16 to 18 workers. If you can stop his production completely, maybe even kill all his workers, then you limit him to like 2 or 3 void rays maximum. And if you can somehow get out 5 stalkers on the map, that might be all you need. Because what you do is, if you have a mothership core and 5 stalkers, you pretend like you're engaging and force the charge. Wait the 30 seconds or however long it is. It might be 40. Or is it 20 seconds? I think it's 20 seconds and it's a 40-second cooldown. So you wait the 20 seconds, but you keep him like sort of in vision, and then you go back in for the fight, but you have to lose no stalkers. So say it's 5 stalkers versus 3 void rays. Let him put the aggro on the mothership core. It's almost useless at that point. I mean, if your Nexus died, I don't know if it did. You know, let him, the moment he shoots a stalker, pull it back. Do what you can, and maybe even kite too, because they move slowly, and I think they have equal range. But remember, it has to be like at the right angle for them to shoot you while moving. So if you shoot and run and shoot and run, either way, basically like you're turning it into a micro-only game by moving across the map. You're saying, if I can get out 5 stalkers, and if I can kill, like in the time it takes you to like kill all my gateways, and if I can limit you to 3 or like, you know, Jesus Christ willing, 2 void rays, then I'm saying neither of us will be mining. It is a 100% micro game, and I can beat you. And it is winnable. It's just tough, but like sometimes that might be something you have to do. But yeah, that's like kind of crazy and next level and high level micro. So for the most part, I say just, if he focuses just try and defend and buy time until you get a photon overcharge, and then once you do have a photon overcharge, try and get like ramp up your 3 gate production. Never stop chrono boosting stalkers. I want your gateways like always producing stalkers. You might be low on gas, so you might need to even not research warp gate tech. You just need stalkers, and you need to do what you can. And it might even be worth it to pull like 4 or 5 workers and try and kill his pylon, because it, like, say you're in a scenario where you only have 2 gates, and he's like killing workers, and it's a low econ thing for you because he's, you know, in your face. 5 workers might not actually matter that much, and if you can kill his pylon, you're never going to be able to kill his pylon, let's be honest. But if you can, that'd be beast mode. He wouldn't be producing void rays anymore. But at the very least, you pull his void rays back, and then once his void rays, you see them coming back to save his pylon, you just run the workers away in any direction. And then he goes back to fighting you, and then you go kill his pylon again. It's all like, every time he has to go back, it buys you 5 or 10 seconds because void rays are so slow, and you only need like 40 seconds or something to get photon overcharge. You feel me? Mm-hmm. All right. So that's a little bit like a hard all-in to hold. Just know that when you're scouting a really early gateway in his base, like a 10 gate and double gas, just know that's what you're going against. Never stop producing stalkers, and even if you have to send out 2 or 3 workers, like the moment you see that that's what he has, start sending those, like, you know, low probe count, 10 gate and double gas, start sending workers everywhere to try and find it. Because if you can find that shit before his Stargate finishes and before he starts producing void rays, you can get a lot of damage in on the pylon, which makes you sending stuff to go kill the pylon later even more of a threat. Which I said with workers, but you might even want to do it with a stalker. Like, if you had a stalker at his pylon shooting it, and then he had to send the void rays back, then you run the stalker away because they're much faster than workers. Then he tries to chase it for a second. Then he has to make the decision. Do I want to chase this? Do I want to leave a void ray at my pylon? Do I want to send them all to his base, do some damage, and run back and save the pylon? Like, either way, he's wasting time, and he's the one doing the all-in. So just little micro techniques like that. But if you scout it, just constantly chrono boost stalkers, and, you know, God be with you, basically. And I'm not a holy man, so God definitely be with you. Okay, have you ever gone against that, by the way?
Proxy Void Ray, I don't believe so.
Okay. It's like very gateway light. I'm pretty sure they don't really make gateway units. It's like, I I have figured out this macro-wise of the first 4 minutes to get a Stargate finished on your side of the map as fast as possible, and I'm killing you with Void Rays, like, in your face. That's, like, how the build works. Okay. The next one, because it's so similar, the next one we'll talk about is Proxy Oracle. Now, there's 2 versions of this. There's one that's, like, a little bit decently faster and a little bit more all-in, but, like, is guaranteed to get damage done. And I'll explain that in a second. And then there's one that I really like, where it comes a little bit later. Like, you make 2 or 3 gates, make some stalkers, go poke them at the front while your Stargate's building proxy. They both have their advantages and disadvantages. The first one, you can get an Oracle done, and people have been doing this against Terrans a lot ever since Oracle speed got buffed. You can get an Oracle finished at, like, a retarded time. Like 5 minutes or 5.5 minutes or 5 minutes 45 seconds. Like, it's done on their side of the map and, like, 10 seconds from their base. Like, it's crazy. And the reason why I say it's guaranteed damage is because I think even if someone does, like, a fast 3 Stalker build on 2 gates, they will not have 3 Stalkers by the time the Oracle hits. So as long as you use their, turn on their attack. Have you used Oracles much?
That used to be staple to my PvP because I can't play PvP.
Oh yeah, okay. You
or Oracle DT rather.
Oh yeah, nice. That's dirty. I don't even know that shit. Like cheese into cheese. But
it was an elf feed.
Yeah, nice. But yeah, you activate it. You just focus fire probes and shift attack probes, and then by the time he runs out of energy, the one stalker that's there won't even have been able to kill it in time, so you'll get away. Like, it's guaranteed worker kills. Now, if they pull their workers, you might only get 2 or 3 or 4. But if they don't pull their workers, you can get like 6 or 7 and get the Oracle out alive, and, like, it's pretty crazy. The other version, you build up 2 gates, you build up a couple of stalkers, you build a 3rd pylon in your base, and then the 4th pylon, or around the same time as the 3rd pylon, you build it proxy on the map, and then you start sending out your stalkers, double check for pylons, send out your Mothership Core, check for their shit, and you should be poking at their base, like saying, like, not like running up their ramp or anything all in, but saying, hey, look at these, I got stalkers, look how pretty they are, be afraid, while the Stargate is building and finishing. So usually what you do is you pull all their stuff to the front at the ramp, and then you send the Oracle in. And either they don't send enough back and the Oracle does a lot of damage, or they send their whole army back, and then you get your Stalkers up in their main base. Maybe kill Pylon, maybe kill Workers, maybe kill their face. I don't know. If you have a proxy Pylon closer than the proxy Stargate, you can warp in, keep warping in more Stalkers, because you do add a 3rd gate at some point. Because, 3 Stalkers, Warp Gate, Mothership Core, Stargate, and Oracle, that's pretty gas heavy. And, not having very much gas is kind of the same thing as having too many minerals. You know what I mean? Because if you're low on gas, you'd be low on everything if you have no minerals. But if you're low on gas, it's kind of implying I'm low on gas, high on minerals. So yeah, you add the 3rd gate, and then you can do like a 3-gate push with it. The number one thing when scouting a proxy Oracle. Oh yeah, something I forgot to mention when you scout with your first worker. Not only do you want to stay in his base for as long as you possibly can, like, if you see his gateway building something, and the Cybernetics Core isn't done, be like, okay, he's making a Zealot. And you can even stay in his base after the Zealot's done, because workers are faster than Zealots. But once the Cybernetics Core finishes, you have to assume, because every player does it, let's be honest, like, at least a Sentry, and that will still be able to kill your worker, most likely. But almost every player makes a Stalker, so you got to think like, okay, Cybernetics Core just finished, I got 30 seconds and I got to get out of here, because Stalkers finish in like, what, 33 or 38 or something? But you got to stay as long as you can to see the things that I'm like teaching you to look for. But yeah, you have to look for the 3rd pylon, because if they, especially if they're on 1 gate, so either way they'll do a quick double gas, probably 15 gas. They can get away with it and do the 1 gas, then the Cybernetics Core, then the 2nd gas, but it's going to come later and you're going to have Stalkers and you're going to be fine. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be the late version of it and you'll probably be fine. but you have to scout for the quick double gas, and you have to scout for no third pylon, because if they have the first pylon powering, you know, their gateway and their cybernetics core, and the second one wherever, maybe with their first pylon, maybe behind their minerals, but you see no third for the longest time while you're still there, you can not assume they're doing proxy, but you probably want to send your stalker and send your mothership core out a second time or whatever and start looking for it, or maybe send it a little bit further, like how I said